Can we walk the city's canyons when the moon is on the rise? Can we let our native kindness shine through? Will we recognize the stranger, see the light behind the eyes?
Good morning, Unity of Music City. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so glad to see everybody here this morning, and I'm so glad to feel your energy in this room. Welcome to the Sanctuary. This is the Sanctuary Band. Hey, guess what? When you walked in this morning, we didn't smell a skunk. And that's because our lovely and talented Ken Johnson was over here absorbing all of the skunk odor for us yesterday. Ken Johnson is our skunk messiah. You have taken all the skunk in our place, therefore we don't have to witness it. There's still more to do, and you never know if Mother Nature might want to swing back by this way and give us another present. But for the last 4 weeks, for those of you who don't know, we have walked into terrible skunk. And so what a blessing it is to come here and smell this. This is why everybody's all pumped up this morning and ready to get this party started, all right? Everybody welcome the Sanctuary Band. That's Jackie, Jackson, Daphne, and Mary Grace. Let's all stand up. We're going to sing a couple of songs back to back and get our energy up and ready for a great service. There was a time in my life, thought I'd have to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient, didn't know the love of God was at hand. Now I can say, if you're discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you gotta let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say: I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. This I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit, 'cause I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here. Let me hear ya. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Now let's stand in our truth. 1, 2. Well, I'm not gonna give in to this world's misery. I've learned a lesson that always sets me free. Any situation, the best thing I can do is to know who I am and let that light shine through. in my truth and let my troubles go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. And I will not get caught up in other people's stuff. I'm focus to me is quite enough. And I'm feeling cornered, I get still and breathe and remember who I am and all that I believe. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand in my truth and let my troubles let them go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna stand in my truth and let my troubles go. I'm gonna stand in my truth. Stand in my truth. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. I'm gonna whisper a prayer to claim my power to make it so. Make it so. Thank you so much. All right, we've got any kids to go with Miss Steph? Or a kid, or all the kids, or? That does not count people who feel like kids. All right, well, I want to give everybody a proper welcome to Unity of Music City. This is a place that we know is, when we come in here, we expect to be authentically transformed. And when we say that, we remember the truth of who we really are. Our authentic selves are that we are a child of God. And being a child of the divine means that we have that within us, that we can take out into the world and make a difference in this world. And so thank you for all coming together today in this beautiful spiritual community that we are creating together. I want to remind everybody that we have the blue vase there in the back for your paper donations. We have the PayPal code if you want to give that way. And we encourage everybody, every week, every day, to give of your time, your talents, and your treasures to this community, because we are building a foundation at Unity of Music City for generations to come. So thank you all for being here. And proof of this is that we've got a ton of announcements. And I think, Frank, are you going to go first? I don't know. All right. Julie, you're up. Oh, okay.
It's only 30 seconds. This is quick. So it's either going to be pretty good or, an F up. But you all know the theory of let them, right? Have you heard about that theory? Let them think what they want. So I kind of been living by that theory pretty much my whole life. So you are authentic selves. So I'm going to put that on? No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Can I pull this down a little bit? All right. This is going to go here. And this is going to go here. Here we go.
She's been analyzing Bob.
put this back, Mary Grace, I promise. Now the harmonica, I'm not going to promise you. I just started a couple of weeks ago. But I'm gonna do a little something. I love the inspiration over here. I feel supported. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that it's soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you has worth saving. Sorry. I want to redo that if that's cool. Here we go. I got to get lower too. Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that it's soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. I'll just do announcements from here if that's cool. So anyways, yeah, so I'm resetting as well, and this is the, I'll let you hold that. So I'm learning 20 songs in 2 weeks. That's my reset. So here we go. Announcements. Hey, folks. Join Steph and Deborah for the Happy Class this Thursday, January the 23rd. This class will feature gentle yoga and low-impact dance fitness, followed with group meditation and soothing sound healing with Jackie on this pan drum. Macri, this is Macri in action over here. Sign up or just show up. The cost is $20 or pay what you want donation. Sounds like a blast. Mindful Love, a study into mindfulness, compassion, and awareness. Join us in this 4-week course of cultivating mindful compassion and love. In a world where uncertainty and unsafety can be found, learn to widen your circle of compassion. January 22nd, 29th, February the 5th, 12th, that's 7 to 8:30 p.m. in person or Zoom, or both. That would be interesting, right? No. Link in weekly email. Mindful offering of $10 per class, and books are not required.
Yes.
Is that, and, okay. All right, and that's Frank, your baby, right? All right, awesome. Please join us on Saturday, January 25th for Revive and Reset. This is this coming Saturday, right? A day of reflection, connection, and healing. This event has been created for those of us who have been looking for ways to put the anxiety of 2024 behind us. Right. And it is. And make way for a peaceful 2025. This is a day-long event and will feature processing circles with a licensed counselor, a sound bath treatment, guided meditations, contemplation stations, and much more. Lunch will be provided, so please join us for half a day or the full day. Cost is $30 for the half day or $50 for the full day. Sign up in the front room and pay in advance via check or PayPal. And again, see Frank Castellano for more information. You're going to have a lot of questions coming your way, buddy. Please join us for an interest Zoom meeting on January 31st at 6:30 to explore the possibility of traveling to India into this year. Who's in? All right. This trip will focus on the spiritual culture of India and include visits to several temples in addition to the Taj Mahal, the Mahatma Gandhi Museum, if I'm mispronouncing, sorry, rickshaw ride through Old Delhi, and many other amazing events. It's going to be great. We hope to be joined by, and again, Reverend Deb? Gidio Rathor from Jaipur? I was trying hard there. India. So please come with questions and curiosity. It's going to be phenomenal. The Imulk ceremony, Sunday, February the 2nd, following the service. I can't believe February's almost here, y'all. Sacred day of cleansing and blessing. Join us as we start the year with a new vision as we cleanse and bless our personal paths, spiritual community, and ourselves. If you would like to participate or have a role in this rite, please contact Frank. You are going to be so busy. Always. You're used to this. All right, so anyway, you can sign up again for the event itself on the bulletin board. Couple more, y'all. On Saturday, February the 8th, please join facilitator Lisa Murphy as we take a deep dive into the Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono. Otopono. Okay.
Well, that too.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I'm making that up. Yeah. That's right after this one, right? This process is a practical and deeply spiritual tool for pardoning, forgiveness, and reconciliation. There we go. The class will be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and the suggested cost is whatever donation comes from your heart. Community Move and Groove Skate at Rivergate Skate Center. This is Sunday, February 16th. Bring your disco attire, because there's a big disco ball out there, right? Right, your boas, whatever you want to bring. Yeah, and y'all got to play while you skate. I want to see that and sing. This is going to be Sunday, February 16th at 1 p.m. Everyone is responsible for their own family admission. $8 plus $4 skate rental. Please see Stephanie for more info. And all of these activity or meeting links can be found on the website, weekly happenings, Google Calendar. You can always email the church.
And please know that all of the stuff that we talk about today are not for us. They're for us and everybody else. So that means tell all your friends, tell your family, tell everybody that you think might even have the vaguest interest, because we want all of these events to be attended, and we want to be able to fellowship and be together in community with all kinds of people. So please be sure and invite whoever you think might be interested in these events. All right, are we ready to sing? All right, it's time for the monthly mantra. And at this point in the service, we do this song that really kind of solidifies our who we are statements. These are songs that represent who we are as a community. And we're doing this song of empowerment called Step Into Your Power this week. Let's all stand together and see how well we remember it. Remember, we got two movements here. One is for the verse, one is for the chorus. The verses are sway. And then the choruses are step. Okay? Now, I know that's difficult. Sway, step. Here we go. Count it off. If you want it, you can have it. All you gotta do is reach out and grab it. If you want it, you can have it. All you gotta do is reach right out and grab it. Step on up, step into your power. Step on up, step into your power, child. Step into your power. Step right up. Step into your power, child. Now listen, all you need, you already own. It was given to you on the day that you were born. Anything that your heart can dream, you can make it a reality. Step on up, step into your power. Step on up, step into your power, child. Step on up, step into your power. Power, child. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid to fall. It's getting back up that's gonna make you strong. God only made one like you. So come on, people, just do what you were born to do. Step on up. Step into your power. Step on up. Step into your power, child. Step on up. Step into your power. Step on up. Step into your power, child. Step into your power. Step on up. Step into your power, child. Step on up. Step into your power. Step on up. Step into your power, child. All right. I love seeing everybody smile when you sing that song.
All right, let's begin this by part of our service by taking a deep, centering breath. Today's centering thought is, I am creating a firm foundation for my spiritual path. There's a wise Zen saying that you cannot stop the birds from flying around your head, but you can prevent them from making a nest in your hair. As we begin to find our spiritual path and mature spiritually, we discover that although we can't stop the world's news about lack of information, we can prevent it from living in our consciousness. How may you ask? Through study, meditation, prayer, affirmations, and being in a spiritual community like this. These are all tools for helping us turn towards the direction of spirit, or whatever you call it, and develop a consciousness awareness of real love, peace, and joy that is always around us. All of us have this intuition, and when we listen deeply to our intuition, it will guide our spiritual path. Notice that we aren't saying that you should deny the noisy birds of lack and limitation that fly around in our lives that are begging for attention. But we are saying that when we keep our attention on the things that really matter in our lives, staying centered in the truth of who we are as children of the divine, then peace is always a moment away, within our grasp. The more we practice this, the less the noisy birds will bother us. When we send our intention to stay focused on this reality, we create a world of firm foundation. And when we build our spiritual path on this foundation, we find a permanent shift in the outcomes of our lives. Now repeat these affirming statements after me, please. Is it over? Okay. When I listen to my intuition, it will guide my spiritual path.
When I listen deeply to my intuition, it will guide my spiritual path.
When I focus on the divine presence within me, love, joy, and peace are always within my grasp.
When I focus on the divine presence within me, love, joy, and peace are always within my grasp.
I am creating a firm foundation for my spiritual path. And so it is.
Thanks, John. They're not quite used to the fact that we're doing meditation at the end of the talk, so now the band exits. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to see the ones who are not afraid of a little cold, not afraid of a little snow. I'll move that out of the way there. I'm afraid. All right, then. I love that. We face it head on. Face it head on. Welcome and good morning. I'm so excited about this talk today, even though it's about that, the one who suffers. You know, a lot of us who are here in this room come to this place having spent a little bit of time on our spiritual journey in the land of New Thought. And there were times, especially, I want to say the glory days of New Thought in the 80s and 90s, when talking about suffering was almost considered to be taboo. When you had to affirm your way out of it. I mean, I remember if anybody said anything negative, hearing the phrase, well, affirm that 1,000 times and see what you get, right? That it was kind of your fault, almost as if suffering was a kind of failing of your own spiritual understanding. You didn't affirm it. You didn't talk about it. And we were all so much younger then, right? We were all so much younger and healthy and feeling a little bit immortal. But here's the thing. If you went to a doctor because you had a really deep pain, you wouldn't hide the pain from the doctor. You would go in and the first thing you'd want to say is, this is my pain right here. And the doctor would say, great. Because you're honest with me, we can start the healing, right? And so the problem, and there's a little bit of wisdom. I don't want to discount that completely. There's wisdom in being positive and leaning into the positive. But the truth of the matter is that healing begins in honesty. Healing begins in sincerity and truth, right? This is a depiction of the weeping Buddha. Now, we know there are a lot of Buddhas, right? This is the story of the weeping Buddha is that there was a warrior Buddha. We don't know if it was the real Buddha, maybe a past life, whatever. There's lots of Buddhas. But the legend goes that this warrior Buddha, he leaves home to go fight these great battles. Have you ever noticed, anybody watching that show American Primeval on Netflix? If you're not, oh my Lord, you should be watching it. Oh Lord. Everything old is new again, isn't it? Yeah. But there's a lot of times when people think that their religion, their spirituality tells them to go fight a battle, to pick up a weapon, right? And so this warrior Buddha leaves home to go fight these great battles, and years pass, and he comes back to realize there's an enemy at home, and he's fighting this enemy at home, and he kills the enemy, and when he pulls off the enemy's mask, he realizes it is his long-lost son. He has just killed his son in battle. This is a common depiction of the weeping Buddha, and we can understand that a whole lot more. Doesn't that picture just say, I have just been collided with the worst suffering a person could probably feel. The worst suffering ever. And it's all over you. It's one thing to be positive and affirm and say things like, I'm a child of God and I don't inherit sickness, and then you get a diagnosis. Are you now not a child of God? Yes. Yes, you are. Right? So I want to start today's talk on the one who suffers. And I'm calling these talks the one who, right? Like last week was the one who is awake, the Buddha, the one who suffers. Because at the core of this discussion, we have to keep in mind, who is it who's suffering? Not my divine presence. My person is suffering. That's true. The one who suffers. I want to start by sharing the last words of the Buddha as we understand them. A little side note, I told you last week that the Buddha was born on the full moon in May. He got his enlightenment on the full moon in May. He supposedly died on the full moon in May. He was born on a full moon. He preached his first sermon on a full moon. Like, the full moon is big for Buddhists. So these are supposedly his last words after 45 years of teaching. He lay dying, and he says something like this. This is loosely translated into English. He says, all things are subject to impermanence. Strive for your own salvation. Be a lamp unto yourself. Hold fast to the truth. Look not for refuge to anyone but yourselves. Right? The goal of a spiritual teacher is to make more spiritual teachers. The goal of a medical school is not to make medical students. It's to make doctors, right? And so in the same kind of way, the Buddha is saying, don't look to anyone else. Look to yourself. This is really, for our spiritual community and who we are, and especially in these rebranding talks that we're having, this is kind of a perfect mantra for who we are. Our job is not to be what you look to for the truth. Our job is to hold up lights. Our job is to be a companion on the pathway, and for you to be a lamp unto yourself, right? I love the first thing I thought of because of my Judeo-Christian upbringing. I've been told that's a horrible thing to say. There's not very much in this world that's actually Judeo-Christian, right? Except for the fact that the Christians sprung out of what was originally Judaism. Anyway, side note, I just went down a rabbit hole. Let's come back right here. So one of the things the first thing I thought of, there's a verse in the Bible that says, thy word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path, right? Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto... The only slight difference here is that in the Buddhist tradition and in the tradition that I follow is that thy word lives right here, right? The truth lives right here. And so that truth, thy word, the God within, divine presence, is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, right? So the Buddha's first sermon, which was preached, right? And I love the fact that the Buddhists, when you read about these, I'm reading 4,700 books about Buddhism right now. How many, it's kind of like, I told someone last week, it's like that old commercial, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, right? Like, how many books on Buddhism can any one person be reading at the same time? 17. The answer is 17. No. So Buddha's, and they talk about, they use that language. When the first time I read Buddha's first sermon, I'm like, ooh, no, that's Nazarene language right there, preaching a sermon. Buddha's first sermon laid out these essential truths that are at the heart of Buddhism. Now, Buddhism, like any other wisdom tradition, has undergone lots of splits and divisions, and some people understand it this way, and this culture understands it this way. And that's why we have Theravada and Mahayana and Vajrayana and Zen and all these different Buddhist kind of schools. But there are certain things that are essential to all of them, and one of the things that is essential to all is those Four Noble Truths. If you know anything about Buddhism, you know about the Four Noble Truths. They're not a secret, so I'm not even going to expose you to them one at a time. Let's just bring them all out together. Vanna, open the curtain. The Four Noble Truths. And these are the the truths that are noble. Number one is a word, a Pali word. The language of the Buddha was Pali. Right? There's something like 3,000 languages still spoken in India. So every little village has their own version of it, right? So Pali was the language of the Buddha. That's why one of the greatest works in the Buddhist canon is the Pali canon, which is the original kind of Buddhist writings. So dukkha is a Pali word that roughly translates to suffering. We're going to get to that in just a moment. And so that first truth is the truth of suffering, that first noble truth. Life is suffering, nothing is permanent. So let's just start right there. That's the opposite of affirm that 1,000 times and see what you get. It is, let's go ahead and face this sucker head on. Right? Let's face this sucker head on. The second noble truth is samudaya, which is the idea that we are attached to these impermanent things, and that is the cause of suffering. I mean, think about it. Everything that arises in this dynamic world comes and it will go. Everyone who is born will die, right? They will pass from this life, right? That person that you were born as in this world will go away. We even write this into the traditional marriage ceremony, right? As long as we both shall live. So even in that great day of celebration, there's this realization that this too shall pass. One day, this will not exist. And the idea of that makes us suffer because we're super attached to those things, right? We love things in this life. We desire, we crave, that craving and that attachment, that is the cause of suffering. Because it is going to go away. It is going to go away. And then the third noble truth is nirodha, which is the idea that non-attachment to the transient world and an end to the pain arising from attachment can be achieved. This is the good news. This is the gospel of Buddha, right? The gospel of Buddha is we can get rid of the suffering. There is a way that we can be non-attached to these things that are gonna go because they came. If they came, they're gonna go. What goes up must come down. That's why when we meditate, so often I tell you, let's go into the space where there is no beginning, there is no end. There's no dimension. There's no before, there's no after. There's no up, there's no down. Right? That is not a place that you were not born, the part of you that was not born and will never die. So non-attachment can be achieved, hallelujah. And then Marga, I love this. If you go to India with me in December, I hope you'll consider that. And even if you're just sort of on the edge thinking to yourself, I don't know if I could ever do that, come to the interest meeting. I mean, if nothing else, it'll be interesting. Because it's an interest meeting. And it's the law that an interest meeting has to be interesting. But if my friend JD is there, his name is JD Orator. He goes by JD. He's one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. He's planning to get up at 5:30 in the morning, Jaipur time, and be on Zoom with us and be there to talk to us a little bit. I have every confidence in the world that one little conversation with him, and you're like, I want to go to India just to meet that guy, like that guy. But if you go to India, in Delhi, you'll find things like all the streets. The word for street, the word for road is Marg. So you'll see Shanti Marg, it's Peace Road, right? And so Marg means path. And so in Pali, it's Marga, and it's the truth that the noble eightfold path leads to the release of suffering. Guess what we're going to be talking about over the next 8 weeks? No, not really. It's not going to be 8 weeks, but we are going to talk about it over the next couple of weeks, is the release of suffering. But I want to spend time today. Today we're going to talk all about the suffering. Next week we're going to talk about the non-attachment. But today we're just going to talk about the suffering. And the Buddha was very scientifically minded. Right? He was like, here's a problem. We can find a solution for it. And I'm going to create a path, and this is the path to it. You know, through my work, through my study, this is the path. And he identified 6 shared experiences of dukkha that every single person has. And so the 6 shared experiences go like this. Number 1 is the trauma of birth. It's really interesting. Nikki and I were writing in today and listening to a podcast very interesting podcast about nonverbal autistic children who have been seen to read their parents' minds. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, okay, all right. So it's going out. Okay, all right. Well, we were listening to it this morning. And here's one of the things. One of the children on there, I knew I was going to say this today, and one of the children on there said she has memories that go back to being in the womb, which kind of blows my whole point that I'm going to make right here, right now. But I'm going to go with it anyway. Because the point I was going to make is, isn't it a good thing none of us remember the birth experience? Because if we remembered the birth experience, we probably do on a subconscious level. I'm sure we do. There's a whole area of psychology, with the rebirthing thing, right? I remember the rebirthing trend back in the 80s or the 90s. But the thing is, we've all gone through this. When I was born, it's called meconium stain. I was covered in poop. That's what it was. You know, I had my first bowel movement in the womb, and I've heard that means that you've experienced a kind of trauma, right, in the womb. I was born in 11 minutes from the time my mother walked through the hospital doors unaided till the time the doctor put me in her arms. 11 minutes. And I don't know what happened, but I didn't want to come here. I was trying to stay in there as long as I possibly could, because there's a kind of trauma in that experience. I often talk about difficult times that we go through as being pushed through a birth canal, right? You're going to get through to the light of a new day, but in the meantime, your head's going to get squeezed to a tiny point, and it's going to be painful. Birth is a trauma that we all share, and we have to get through it to know life. The second one is the pathology of sickness. Our cells are constantly changing. And we don't always have, you could argue with me about this. You might say, oh, no, I'm a child of God. I don't inherit sickness. I have total control over my cells. Well, good for you. Yeah. Bully for you, right? At one of the most spiritual times in my life, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And God forbid that I would ever stop and say, what am I doing wrong? Oh, no. You were being prepared, right, to deal with this. We've all gone through these difficult times. The pathology of sickness, sometimes it happens. We don't plan on it. We don't want it, right? But it happens to the very, very best of us. The third one is, I love this, the morbidity of decrepitude. You know what that means? That means if I live long enough, I creak a little bit when I get out of bed, right? I've got to stretch before I just walk across the hall, right? I need to stretch, I need to limber up, because I'm human, and I read somewhere that, like, it's something like this, like from the moment we're born, we start dying, right? That idea. And then there's that idea that every 7 years we're like a whole new person because all these different cells are, all I know is it changes. This body that I have changes. And even though I still feel inside in my spirit like I'm 23 years old and I can conquer the world, I'm not going to race you in a 100-yard dash, right? It's going to feel a little bit different. The morbidity of decrepitude. The fourth one we all share is the phobia of death. Carl Jung, the psychologist, claimed that fear of death was the deepest terror in any of his patients over 40. And I remember that. That whole metaphor that we use of being over the hill is perfect. Because on the front side of life, you're climbing up the hill, you can't even see the end. You can't even see the valley on the other side. You know that feeling? Jackson still has it. He's immortal right now, right? He's immortal. And you're climbing up that hill, and life is kind of a climb, and then you get to the top, 40-ish, whatever, and life gets a little easier, doesn't it? It's not quite so stressful. I've accomplished some things. Don't have so many maybe financial problems. I'm good, but I can see the end. And now I got that to worry about. And even those of us who are so spiritually centered that we think don't ever fear that, we do. We have those moments. We have those moments where we think about that eventuality that's going to happen. The fifth one that we all share is this: to be tied to what one dislikes. I think about that really shitty job, right? With the really bad boss. And you're like, I work with a lot of folks who are watching the clock till retirement and miserable every day, right? I mean, it happens to the best of us. Sometimes it's like, I can't change now. I'm tied to something that I don't like, but I feel like I cannot untie this for whatever reason. Think about a really bad relationship. I was in a relationship before my beautiful wife, Nikki, came along. For 10 years, I was in a relationship that should not have been. It just should never have been. And every time that I got close to the edge where I was like, maybe I can just walk out the door, I would think, well, no, wait a minute. There's all this invested. There's all this. Maybe we can work on this. Maybe we can work on this. And it is a special kind of suffering to feel like you're stuck to something that you don't like, right? You're stuck to something that you don't like. And the other one, the last one, is this: to be separated from what one loves. Ooh, and often, both of those things at the same time. Right? To be separated from what one loves. It's kind of like sometimes we don't know why people love what they love. You know, some good friend decides to move to Cleveland. Like, why the hell do you want to live in Cleveland? It's home, and I love it, and I've missed it for 20 years. Right? I've been separated from something that I love, and it's caused me pain. So let's dive into this dukkha and what it means. Well, most of the time we define it as suffering. But there's a variety of meanings even in the word suffering. Right? Think of that. Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." Suffering can mean everything from I am like morbidly in pain to I just got to put up with this. I'm just going to suffer through this. I'm going to put up with this, right? But it also means an idea of not being at ease. Not just this, I'm suffering in this moment, it's an acute kind of pain, but I'm just kind of not at ease, a general sense of uneasiness. We're going to come back to that one in just a moment. And a kind of instability, like the person who builds their house on the sand, where life just feels a little unsettled, a little uncertain. There's a shakiness. I just don't feel settled. I feel like I need to be moving on somewhere. This dissatisfaction. Many of the Buddhist teachers that I've come across in my research and my study, this is the one they like the most. The closest many of them say dukkha comes to is unsatisfactoriness, which is kind of not a word, right? And it's hard to find a word that fits into it. A state of dissatisfaction, right? I think about the era that we live in, the road rage. I think about the number of people who have been, put on social media, let me speak to the manager, right? That kind of era. I need to speak to the manager. Dissatisfaction. We're living in this soup of dissatisfaction, energy. And then, of course, the idea that you're just off the mark. Remember when we talked about sin being a term that means just missing the mark, right? This is a kind of sin. We're just off the mark. Houston Smith, who is a great academic of world religions, and his text, The World's Religions, is a very important one to me. He says it this way: dukkha names the pain that to some degree colors all finite existence. The word's constructive implications come to light when we discover that it was used in Pali to refer to wheels whose axles were off-center, or bones that had slipped from their sockets. Life is dislocated, right? So in other words, according to the Buddha, this idea of dukkha means that life is like constantly pushing the grocery cart with the wobbly wheel, right? Kroger specifically. Life is like pushing the grocery cart with the wobbly wheel. I had a friend years ago who used to say when someone was like losing their stuff like this, she goes, "Oh, he is in a high-speed wobble," right? Which somehow perfectly defined that feeling, right? I know times when I've been in a high-speed wobble. I need to just settle down. Can't stop myself, right? So that's life is like a high-speed wobble that we're in all the time. The feeling that it never quite slips into its groove. We're always waiting for something. We're moving towards something that's going to make us okay. We're constantly in the wobble looking for the groove that's going to make everything okay. The Buddha defined 3 types of dukkha. One is dukkha dukkha, right? Yeah. It's like, I guess, it's like dookie, like total dookie. And so that's the suffering of suffering. We know what that is like, right? It's sickness and pain. It's physical. It's emotional. I've been left. I feel rejection. I'm feeling pain. That is the suffering of suffering. The second one is the viparinama dukkha, which is the suffering that comes from change, or this idea of impermanence, right? This idea that things are going to change. And because of this one, because of the suffering of change, even pleasure can be a kind of disguised pain, right? We get to go on vacation. Vacation comes to an end. And then I got to go back to work. I got a new car. And a couple years later, it's just not so cool anymore. Oh, I bought a car that was made by some guy who supported someone for president that I don't like, right? Or something. Something doesn't feel quite so good. I managed to buy this big, beautiful home that has to be cleaned every week. So even in the pleasure, there's a kind of pain because things changed. He got married. He got divorced. If I had never fallen in love with that person, I wouldn't feel the pain of them leaving now. Right? So even because things change, even in things that are pleasurable, there can be pain. Even ecstasy is temporary. And then there's sankhara dukkha, which is the suffering of existence, this existential, all-pervasive suffering. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose? Sometimes, have you all ever been at this stage in your life where you're like, is all of this just futile? That feeling of futility. The Buddha gave a sermon called the Fire Sermon, and in it he said that we are we're all on fire with these uncontrolled desires and passions and attachments that consume and dominate our lives. And because of these desires and these cravings and these passions that we're on fire with, we are like children in burning houses. We don't have the maturity or the self-mastery to recognize our situation and douse our fires. We just let them keep burning us up, right? We're at the mercy of our attachments and our desires, and that creates a suffering that is existential. And if it's true, if you ever heard this before, it's that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? And if it's true that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, then life can feel like this. This is the best metaphor I can come up with. That in order to even be in this life, I have to put on a suit that is too tight and bulky and restrictive and plunge into an environment that is really not conducive to my survival, so that I have to carry these lungs around with me and these goggles in order to see, in order to mitigate the hostility of this environment. Even being in this body feels like a restriction at times, right? And so that is the kind of suffering of existence, that I even have to be in this humanness. So this leads to something I've been chewing on all week. I've been trying to determine the point of my biggest suffering. As I do this work, it is only ethical that I do the work that I suggest to you will help. And so I've been trying to determine the point of my biggest suffering. A lot of things, I'm 60 years old. You get to a point in life where you can take care of a lot of your suffering. Things that used to be painful, I've taken care of those. So what is it? What is a pain that I carry around? I've been trying to find this in my research, and I haven't found. I even Googled this phrase, and it's not out there, so I'm going to go get the website tomorrow. But anyway, I'm calling it subtle dukkha. And I really haven't found anything that addresses this the way that I want to, so I attempted to create my own description of it. And this is what I came up with. This is just me saying, Spirit, help me put into words this feeling that I sometimes have. A subtle dukkha is one that lives just under your skin. It is a constant or almost constant sense of unease that has been with you so long you may not even consider it at times. Its primary vehicles are anxiety, dread, stress, pressure, and duty. It creates an underlying desire for escape. And it tends to physically manifest as a tightness in the belly. Have you ever gotten a call from somebody and they cancel something that you had planned and you feel great joy? Yeah. You feel great joy, right? It's like, oh, thank God. There's like this whole relief thing that goes on, right? There's this kind of pressure, this stress that I have identified that I can carry with me. I've got to be on time. I've got to be prepared. I've got to perform in an impressive way. I've got to be good. I've got to know the answers. I've got to be on it. I can't look like I wasn't prepared for this. I can't show up late, right? It's like I feel like the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. Remember that? Listen to these words. I'm late for a very important date. I run and then I hop, hop, hop. I wish that I could fly. There's danger if I dare to stop. And here's the reason why. I'm overdue. I'm in a rabbit stew. Can't even say goodbye. Hello, I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. And that rabbit stew has been something that was implanted in me for some reason, maybe by my mother. Let's blame her. She's probably not watching. She's probably not watching, so that's fine. But this underlying sense of always thinking, like dreading the thing that doesn't even exist in this moment. It's 3 days away. And yet I'm carrying the suffering of it in this moment. It doesn't live in this moment, right? When I would have a pill for that. I know, right? We're going to maybe have a pill for that in just a second. When I drilled down over this past week or so, and I realized that this source of suffering that stays with me like a kind of low hum, it's like a low hum in my life. For many, many years, I didn't even know it existed. Right? And when I faced it, when I acknowledged it, when I was honest about it, I felt it immediately shift. And for me, it was a release of tension right here. I told Nikki the other day, I got on this site, and this Ayurvedic site, and I looked up what my dosha was, and I looked up, why the heck, can I say this? It'll only go out. Why I fart all the time. Right? Like all the time. Like, you don't understand the level of self-control I am engaged in right now. Yes, you're welcome. And I don't know about it getting older, so this website told me I had a vata imbalance, and they're sending me some pills. I'll let you know how they work. All right, they send me this vata imbalance because I think part of it is I'm getting older, and my body's digestive system changes. And as Nikki will tell you, I don't eat enough green vegetables, which I think is part of, never mind. Anyway, I also wonder if that tightness in the belly from that dukkha I carry has anything to do with it, right? Has any connection to it. When I faced it, it shifted, and it was almost as if I could hear it say, finally you see me. I have been jumping up and down for years. Now I can stop. So what I want to invite you to do, we're going to do a little practice here. So I invite you to get as relaxed as you can be. Lower your shoulders. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Let your breath be what it needs to be. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of the mouth. Let your belly soften. I'm going to invite you into a 3-part meditation. The first part is this: to acknowledge the cause of your suffering. Feel it in your body. Name it if you can. See it as an image. If your suffering was able to hit a key on the piano, what sound would it make? safe space to be. Let it rest here in the spacious emptiness of your being. It, too, is welcome in the sacred sanctuary of your heart. Part 3. Accept this which causes your suffering as the key to your enlightenment. The Buddha recognized suffering and he became awake. There are many paths to awakening, but the way through our deepest pain is often the bullet train. It holds the key. That which causes suffering can be transformed and can transform us into the awakened Buddha, the anointed Christ. We don't glorify suffering, but we will allow it to show us the way. Because everything is here for your enlightenment. When I am able to see what is holy in my struggle, I'm able to convert my pain into goodness. And then I can say, I am holy. Only goodness comes from me. I want you to stay in this stillness, and I'm going to ask Ryan and the band to gently come forward. They're going to get ready to play a song for you. I invite you to stay centered. And maybe the first time through, just listen. Just let them sing to you.
I am whole.
I'm going to be vulnerable with you. That is the note on the piano that represents my suffering. Yeah, that's the C sharp. That was humor. That was humor. Gotcha. She said if you had to come up and pick a tone out on the piano, that would be mine. There you go. I'm grateful that I could be that vulnerable with you. All right. So a good way to come through all of this that we go through in our life is by staying in a spot of gratitude. And we are a grateful group of people. We talk about gratitude every week. So I want to bring up two things that I am grateful for. And one is in this community, and that is our finance team. These are the people that work behind the scenes to count the money, to make the postings, all of this boring stuff that we don't even think about as members of this congregation that goes on behind the scenes, and we couldn't do it without this great group of people, and that's Marcia, Jackie, and Megan. Yes. Everybody say thank you. Thank you. That's right. Anybody else have anything that they want to say that they are grateful for from the week that was? That's right. We have gratitude for anything from this previous week. Big Vanderbilt win yesterday. Frank? Yeah. ERA finally, after a gazillion years. Who else? What are we grateful for from the week that was? Julie? Julie, you're going to be running Gardens of Babylon before we know it.
And I will be moving closer to Gardens of Babylon because I'll be putting my house on the market around March. So I have a realtor, and I'm moving forward. Not far, just
We got 2 houses on our street that are for sale. Anybody, anything else? What are we grateful for from this past week? A little snow, just enough to be pretty. Yeah, making it through. That's right. Jackson's moved from being the bus boy to the server. Hello. Ken, you are our hero. Well, we're getting there. We're on the path. Anybody, anything else? All right, well, let's sing about our gratefulness, our gratitude. I am grateful. I am grateful for another day of living. Grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings, and I'm grateful for the love I have to give. I am grateful for another day of living. I'm grateful for a new chance to forgive. I'm grateful to receive life's many blessings, and I'm grateful for the love I have to give. Yes, I'm grateful for the love I have to give. Yes, we are. All right, I want to remind everybody of the 2 things that we've got coming up this week. One is Frank's hybrid class. Do you want to come up and put in a plug for that? and take this with us into our week.
Good morning, everyone. So let me tell you just a little bit about what we're doing here, because we're going through a lot of transition and a lot of change. So this week, one thing that we're having is the Mindfulness Love class. And this course, you don't need a book, so it's not an actual book study, it's a class, and so we're pulling from a lot of different things. We're entering February and Valentine's Day, and also it's African American History Month. So we want to learn how to mindfully love and be allies to people, okay, to other people other than us. And the other thing that we have on Saturday, we are going through a rebranding. Unity of Music City has been very, very lovely, but that name does not represent us anymore. We are a completely different organization, and we want to heal some things from the past, honor the past, kumbaya all that shit out, so that we can step into our power and step into who we are now.
Yes.
We have, our minister says, we are not a minister-led organization or president-led organization, or the people are in charge. We had a visioning last year about what do you want. We ask people. So we're moving into a different form, and we want to give you a chance to heal, whether it's from our church, whether it's we're entering a new administration, and that's bringing up a lot of different things for people, you know. So we really want to give you a chance to heal and process and feel things. And so that's what Saturday is going to be about. And if you could please sign up if you know that you're coming, just so that we can get a head count, because we are going to have some food prepared for people. So those two things are I'm super excited and super important. Thank you so much.
All right. And don't forget our skunk-free happy class on Thursday. All right, let's all stand up and say the prayer for protection as we prepare to leave. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, all is well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Stay warm, and we'll see you next